Hi, this is a short video on helping you complete your educational development plan and submit it. That is a requirement of staying in the Blue Water Middle College Academy. The P in educational, or in EDP, stands for planning, and having good goals, well-informed goals, thoughtful goals, are key to achieving them, of course. So if you don't have good goals, then you're likely not going to achieve them. Now that you are near the end of high school, either 11th grade or 12th grade or even grade 13, updating your EDP should be easier and quicker because hopefully you've been giving thought to these questions quite a bit over the last year or two. Because they are important to your success, an updated EDP is required by the state of Michigan for all high school students, including middle college students. With that in mind, this is very important. Failure to complete and submit an updated EDP will prevent you from continuing in the middle college. We've been working to get students to complete their EDP throughout the fall. We're now at a point where if you do not complete it and submit it before the start of winter semester, you will not be allowed to continue in the middle college. So it's very important that if you're getting the email and directions to complete your EDP, that you get it done now. So follow the directions on the following slides and this video to complete your EDP and submit it before the start of winter semester. Students without an updated EDP submitted to the middle college will not receive winter textbooks and will be dropped from their winter semester courses when the semester begins. Okay, the whole process should take you probably about 10 minutes, maybe a little bit more if you need to do a little research, but that's about it, and it needs to be done. So the EDP format for the middle college is just two sides of one sheet of paper. And I'm going to go through the different sections just to give you an idea on how to complete it. First of all, just information, your name, your grade. It lists email, and in this case, we want your SC4 email. So your SC4 email is the email that ends with a domain at student.sc4.edu. Okay, the next section, very important, are listing careers that interest you. We want at least three. If you don't have a fourth or fifth career you're interested in, that's okay. As it says in the upper right, list at least three careers of interest. It's likely that you will not stay in your first career. No, it's not always the case, but it's very common where someone thinks they're going to do one thing and they end up doing something else. Maybe they hadn't even thought of it. But we want you to come up with three different careers that interest you. We're not locking you into those careers, of course, but it's important that you give it some thought and list at least three. Okay? The next section asks for schools that interest you. So we want you to think one of those could be SC4. If you're planning on continuing at SC4 into a different program or another degree, you can list SC4. But it says include all future schools you think you might attend. And that can include other 2-year colleges, 4-year colleges, military options. If you want to enlist, put that down. Just put military, trade schools, apprenticeships. So that can all be lumped into next possible areas of education for you. Michigan Career Pathway Recommendations. This is actually a section, if you know your career, then finding the pathway actually should be quite easy. So if you know you want to be a nurse, for example, then one of your career pathways is going to be health sciences. We'd like you to choose at least two of these Michigan career pathways to put down in number 1 and 2. So you can put your primary pathway here, the secondary pathway there, and then if you have a third one saying, oh, maybe I could see myself doing this, write it down in the third space there. The column on the right of this chart is actually U.S. Department of Education career clusters, but they relate to Michigan's career pathways. So this just gives you a few more examples of what goes into the engineering, manufacturing, and industrial technology pathway in Michigan. Or you can see, for example, that public safety and security falls under human services in the Michigan career pathway. So it just gives you a little more information on how to choose which pathway you're interested in. The pathways are actually more helpful if you're not set on an actual career, because if you know the general pathway of what you might like to do, then there are resources where they can list all the types of jobs within that pathway. So keep that in mind. And again, if you know your career, it should be pretty easy to say, well, that's part of the business management, marketing, and technology pathway. Okay, so complete that. On the back, there are some many separate areas to fill in. Some are just a few words, others involve a little bit more writing. But I put some information on a few of them that you might have questions. When it says level of education required, what you want to put there is the level of education you need for your number one career choice. Is it just a certificate? Is it an associate degree, a bachelor's degree, maybe even beyond that, graduate school? And if you're not sure what your career requires in terms of what kind of level of education, now it's time to do some research and find out over the coming months. The learning style section, basically you're going to answer that with auditory, visual, or tactile, and I have some examples of each of those. So hopefully, as the years have gone by, you kind of identified how you learn best. And if it's more just by hearing a good speaker or a professor, if you learn well, then you might be more of an auditory learner. If you learn more by seeing something, a video, or by reading, then you're more of a visual learner. And if you actually have to get your hands in there, like dissecting or working with electricity circuit boards or something like that, then you might be more of a tactile learner and you learn more by touching or doing things. The section on career planning activities, these can be things that you have done or you plan to do within the coming year. I listed a few examples, and really these can be quite broad as long as they relate to you learning more about careers or what it takes to get to a career. So if you've met with an SC4 advisor about careers, I know in College Success they actually have you do some surveys or some assessments to help you identify a possible career. That's a career planning activity. If you've done job shadowing, that is. Maybe you've just Googled what does it take to become a veterinarian, and that's actually some career planning as well. So any of those, list them, and if there's things you want to do, put them down as well. The career and life goals section is not so much the career. I'd focus a little bit more on the life goals. The little information box says these goals should be more than only career goals. Examples include where do you want to live? Do you want to stay in Michigan? Do you want to be in California, Arizona? Do you want to have a family? What kind of recreation and hobbies do you want to do? How much money do you want to have? What's the level of wealth desired? It may be that your life goals don't exactly match up with your career goals. So that's why this document, even though it's short, there's a lot of information in here. And if you take your time and really think about these things and plan well, it'll help one thing maybe inform a decision about the other. There's some other extracurricular activities, hobbies, things like that. There's one called skills and abilities. So in this section, in addition to academic skills, like what you've gotten good grades in, what are other things you're skilled in or able to do well? I have some examples. You can draw well, you can write code, you can repair cars and motorcycles. So what are some of the things you can do? Because that may also lead into a career for you that maybe you hadn't thought of before. So keep that in mind. Finally, you just need to make sure you sign and date your completed EDP, and then it needs to get back to us. And it's very important that that gets back to us, ideally by the first of the year. You can do that through email. And I say the first of the year, I mean January 1st. If not, the end of that first week, January 4th, we want these EDPs submitted. And there's two ways of doing it. If you want to send it in digitally, we need clear copies of the front and back. So it says you can scan both sides of your EDP and email the scanned images to Mrs. Lawson, and there's her email address. The images must be clear and completely visible. So if you take a gray photo and there's not enough light, don't even bother, because we need to be able to see it and print it, and then that will be your EDP that we keep on file. The other option, probably the best one if you can do it, is bring the completed form to the Middle College office during our work hours, and that's 8 to 4:30 every weekday. The Middle College office will be closed over the holidays. We'll reopen on January 2nd. So you can stop by. Actually, if you start January 3rd, the textbook should be available. So you can drop off your EDP and pick up your textbooks in the same visit. That'll be starting Thursday, January 3rd. You will not receive your winter semester textbooks if we do not have your EDP. You can sit down and do it right there. We just want you to put some thought into it, but we'd like them sent in ahead of time, get them as soon as possible, because we cannot keep students who do not have an educational development plan on file, and we've brought this out, and to many of you we've sent links to get this done already. So you've had the opportunity to do it, and now it's time to get it done. Okay, thank you.